I want to thank you for joining us. You have being a Republican in your DNA, and yet you've this time been campaigning for Kamala Harris. Michigan, one of those places you went to. First off, let's begin with Michigan. What was it like when you went?
Yeah, we took our Republican Voters Against Trump campaign on the road. We went through Pennsylvania and Michigan, and we wanted to let the communities in Michigan know that there are Republican voters, not only in the state of Michigan, but across the country, who will be supporting Kamala Harris this November because they understand that Donald Trump is categorically unfit to be in office, and they don't love everything about Kamala Harris. They don't agree 100% with what Kamala Harris stands for, but they understand that Donald Trump is somebody who tried to overthrow our democracy on January 6th. They understand that Donald Trump has become even more extreme since the last time he's been on the ballot, and they're going to reject him today because they're going to put our country over our party. And so even though they're Republicans and even though they don't agree 100% with Kamala Harris, they're going to vote for her today regardless.
The inflation that spiked post-pandemic has since subsided, but people we've been speaking to saying, look, I'm getting battered. That's why I'm going to vote for Trump. And what did you say to people in places like Michigan and Pennsylvania when they gave you that answer?
Yeah, we've been doing focus groups with swing voters all cycle, and one of the common refrains we hear from some voters who are interested in voting for Trump is exactly that. It's the economy and it's immigration. And ultimately, we've had some strong economic numbers come out, and especially during this recovery over the last year out of COVID, the United States has been one of the leaders in terms of global recovery, but voters still aren't feeling the effects of that. And ultimately, the pitch we're making to voters is that, policy and the economic stability of the country right now, we can always work on that, right? We can always change direction. We can always continue to work for the betterment of the American people. But Donald Trump is somebody who doesn't care about the American people. He only cares about himself. He's on the campaign trail right now talking about his own grievances, his own legal battles, his own feuds with his enemies. He's talking about his enemies list. Kamala Harris is fighting for the American people, and she has a plan in place in order to make our lives better. And Donald Trump only wants to make his life better, and that's why he's running for president this time.
No matter what country you're in, politics are always a bit tribal. You're with like you support a sports team your whole life. You support a party generally your whole life. What was the moment where you, John Conway, thought, "Wait a minute, I have to cross the aisle here"? What was the moment? The moment.
I've always thought that Donald Trump was somebody who does not represent the best of America or the best of the Republican Party. And I think when he launched his nomination in 2015, he did so by attacking immigrants and attacking people that were coming to the United States for a better life. And I think that the Republican Party that I cherish is the one of Ronald Reagan, where he said the United States is a shining city on a hill. And Donald Trump doesn't represent that vision of America. Donald Trump is somebody who fundamentally hates America. He says that we're garbage. He says that everything is turning against him and against this country. And I think, the Republican Party that I believe in is one that stands for free markets, leadership, and supporting our democracy at home and abroad. And Donald Trump doesn't represent any of those values, and that's why I could never support him.
You say you support free markets. How much of a minority view is that these days when the most pressing issue for many on the international stage is a rivalry with China, which is accused of unfairly subsidizing its industry?
Well, see, Donald Trump has fundamentally changed the Republican Party in this respect. He's talking about, slapping 100, 200% tariffs on goods, not only from China, but around the world. And what he doesn't understand is...
And there's been a continuity. Joe Biden has not reversed Donald Trump's policies.
Well, there's been some tariffs that the Biden administration has kept, especially strategic tariffs. But Donald Trump, what he's proposing is flat tariffs across the board. And I think that we can deal with the challenge of China while also promoting free trade around the world because we know that our leaders are able to do that. We've done that in the past. And Donald Trump is somebody who doesn't fundamentally understand how to craft good policy in this regard. And that's why I think that Kamala Harris has a vision and a plan to make the United States better that also includes trade across the globe without putting 200% tariffs on goods. These don't have to be mutually exclusive things.
John Conway, 4 years ago, each election cycle, we discover campaigning in a new form because of where the digital age goes so fast. And 4 years ago, the big social media groups pushed back against some of the disinformation that was spouted. That pushing back has now loosened. Not just at Twitter, which was bought by Elon Musk, who supports Trump. My question to you is, can they regulate themselves, these tech companies, or is there going to be a need for the United States to review not only its politics, but the way it regulates the way information is disseminated?
I think it's really important for all of America to once again restore our value of free speech. And I think
Can that be done without a government regulation?
I think ultimately the free market and self-regulation on these tech companies is what's best. I think whenever you start mixing the government with speech, we know from history that there's a very dangerous slippery slope. And I think for the most part, these companies have standards that they need to be enforcing in terms of content moderation, but also
Self-enforcing.
Self-enforcing. I think whenever we start mixing, government authority with our free speech rights, that's a dangerous slope. And I think, we need to let the free market of ideas ultimately decide. That's how it's always been in this country. And I think it's been that way for very good reasons, because it promotes the best freedom for all Americans to speak their mind without any government interference.
What's the biggest difference for you in the way the campaigns happened, unfolded, compared to 4 years ago?
This is obviously an unprecedented campaign, with Kamala Harris being the nominee for only 3 months. She had to reintroduce herself to the American people because there was a lot of voters across the country who weren't very familiar with who Kamala Harris was as her time as vice president. And so I think she's running a really smart campaign with a positive vision. And Donald Trump is running a campaign not for the American people. This is a presidential campaign that exists in order for Donald Trump to go after his enemies and for him to benefit and for him to profit. And so I think America has a stark choice between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and I think ultimately Kamala Harris is going to be successful today.
All right, there's a prediction. John Conway, so many thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.